You're listening to the Current Plays Podcast, Season 3, Episode 37, Galactic Cruise. Now please welcome your hosts, Jordan and Thomas. And welcome back, fearless listeners. This week we are talking about Galactic Cruise. Now, this is a game that exploded in 2025, was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Came on the scene, some fairly new designers, TK King, Colton Thompson, and Dennis Northcott. Now, I did a little digging, and TK King and Colton Thompson, they have designed exactly one other game before in 2020
Interesting. Yeah.
called Delavirus. Um, Never heard of it
No.
before.
No.
And the only other games they've designed is Galactic Cruise. And they make up, they formed Kinsen Key Games, who's the publisher of Galactic Cruise. King and Thompson, Kinsen. And then Dennis Northcott joined on, and Galactic Cruise is his only design.
Yeah.
A
Interesting.
Canuck from Winnipeg, actually.
Oh.
Yeah. But yeah, so these pretty much brand new designers, and a brand new publisher. I mean, they're the publishing company. And they've brought on Ian O'Toole as the artist. And so this is a 1 to 4 player game with a BGG weight rating of 3.98 out of 5.
Yeah,
So
that's wild.
pretty weighty. And I gotta say, pretty impressive showing for your well, I guess their second game, but still.
I there's got to be some money there somewhere to come out with a banger like this and then like also self-publish it and have your own and I mean that just seems so really next level, really. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's pretty wild. Yeah.
And like the product is it's massive, right?
Yeah,
Like,
that's what I mean. So like production wise too, like you're
yeah,
fronting that. That's why designers go to publishers and pitch ideas, so they don't have to follow up their idea with the money to publish it,
right.
right? So
And it's not a tiny game. Like, it's a huge box, lots of like wooden components.
chunky,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Not
I
a deck
mean,
of cards, right?
no.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in this game, you're playing as basically a cruise liner that's booking cruises to do space tourism. You don't the actual like going to space is kind of a small part of this, and very the representation is very minimized. Um, but yeah, I mean, I know some people have kind of griped about that, but that's not really what this game is. There's lots of games about being in space and space exploration. That's not what this one is. Um, so in this one, it's it's just a heavy Euro where you've got all kinds of interconnected systems. And the I guess the hook about this one, you've got this neat action selection mechanism where you have these 6 action spaces on the main board, and each action space holds 2 different actions. And when you take an action, it's a worker placement game. When you put your worker out, you're going to get to take two actions that you have access to. Well, what do you mean by have access to? The the actions location that you place your worker on has two different actions. You can take one of them twice, you can take both of them once. But also, as you play the game, you're going to put out these development tokens. They look like gears, so pretty much just call them gears. And if you have a gear between your action space and another action space, then you now have access to the actions on the adjacent space that you've connected with that gear. And you can even do this with other people's gears but then you're going to have to pay them a little bit of money to do that. So you're borrowing their resources or something. So you got to pay them rent or however you want to think about that thematically. Then you've got like technologies up at the top that you can also put developments on. So you get access to those. And it's very much uh, like I said, lots of different interconnected systems. So in the end, you are trying to build ships, put book guests, tourists to go into those ships and launch those ships off into space. Well, in order to do that, there's a lot of steps. So you got to get blueprints for your ship and the kind of activities you're going to do on the ship and the what kind of cabins you're building in there, compartments you're building in the ship. Then you have to actually, turn those blueprints into real things. Then you've got to get your cruise consultants to advertise to guests. Then you've got to make sure you have enough supplies, you have enough food and oxygen and fuel to make it through the whole trip. And on the trip, they're going to do activities on your ship. They're also going to go to destinations. So, different planets, I'm guessing, to, partake in fun activities like when you're on a cruise and you go to
Do
various
your
cities or islands or whatever.
excursions and
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
excursions. That's what I'm looking for. So you have these different planets where you do your excursions on, and then this is how you score points. The like primary way to score points in this game. You've also got like agenda cards, which are one-time powers, and you can upgrade your workers into expert workers. Fun things like that. And then refilling various systems is also some of the actions that you take in this game. And then of course you've got a player board with tokens that you can upgrade and all that fun Euro stuff. But essentially the gameplay loop is build ships, get resources to fuel that ship and keep your people alive, market to people, put those people on the ships, launch the ship. Then you're working on your next ship to try and do that all over again, and score points while you do it. So this is one that I picked up at Breakout Con, secondhand, and it's been sitting on my shelf ever since.
Yeah.
I did play it
Talking back to
once.
March. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I played it once solo, and actually, my first solo play, I wasn't overly fussed with it. But then I did play it online with Ryan from How I Roll, and had a lot of fun playing with him. And then last night when we played, I had a lot of fun, and I think the interaction there between the players is that makes a big difference in this one.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. I could see that for sure. You know what I was surprised about actually this one? When you pick this one up, and especially with like the weight rating on BGG, I was like, okay, this one is going to be a really complex brain burning game, right? And it is to a degree. If you're a beginner coming in, this you don't want to start here because everything will seem super confusing, right? But we've played so many games now too that like this one I was surprised at how everything made sense. So it was like
Yeah.
it didn't seem like it wasn't in my mind that complex, right? Like it was deep. There was lots you had to do, and I was inefficient at it, and it I didn't do well. But I've been thinking about like, oh, what if I had done this? What if I had done this? Kind of thing. But it was never at the point where like I felt like I didn't do well because it was too complex of a system. I'm like, oh, I had to manage so many things and things were falling out. No, that wasn't the case. It was just I focused on areas in the correct way, and I want to jump on that for a sec.
Yeah.
So this game's really interesting in the fact that like it really I felt this so hard where it was just every turn I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this next turn. And usually that what I was referring to is like I'm gonna launch a ship next turn. And then my turn would come around and I'm like, but if I just take one more turn, do a little bit more, be in a slightly better position, right? And I'm like, and then so next turn. And I did that over and over and over till like mid game, and I was like, I just have to push a ship out because like this
Either
is
word
just,
works
yeah,
in that.
either way. I just have to get this out. I got to get into space because I'm
Yeah.
I'm now lagging behind because I'm doing all this prep work in anticipation and then not actually doing the cruise segment, right? And I'm
Right.
watching you too. Like the neat thing about it is you're right. So the space exploration portion is really not part of the game play. Okay, it's part of the gameplay, but it's not an active part. It's more of a passive
Yeah.
thing. At the start of your turn, you move the captain on the ship, and it's you're essentially traveling along the space route at that point, right? So you move. If it's this type of space, you get these bonuses. If it's this type of space, you get this bonuses, right? So it's a very passive income.
Hmm.
But that is such a fascinating mechanic because if you don't have a ship out in space, you're not getting any passive rewards during that turn, right? So when I'm watching you, you're on like the second ship out, and I haven't sent my first ship out, and I'm going, man, like back to back, just multiple turns of just passive stuff coming into you that I just wasn't getting. I'm like, this is not good. Right. This is even if it's little stuff and not seemingly like the rewards aren't massive, but there was a
Right.
little bit of everything that you were collecting during these, little passive portions that I'm like, I'm not getting that. So unless I'm optimizing my turn, there's no way for me to optimize a turn that will capture the slight extra stuffs you're getting during that passive phase, right? So that was a very interesting way that they did that, and I really liked it. I thought that was pretty neat, and that's actually one of the things I was thinking about after is I wonder, and I don't know the rule on this, so maybe you can enlighten me, Jordan. Can you send out? So typically, this game you build a ship, and it comes with a cockpit, and it comes with the rocket boosters at the end, right? And then you have to fill in essentially three floors, which can house two guests. Um,
Right.
can you ship out a ship before it has three floors? Like if I only have two floors and one guest, can I do that?
Yeah, you can. So because so each, just for our listeners, right? Each compartment or component, each segment of the ship has like at the top, it's got like half of a box and then like the bottom half of a meeple.
Yeah.
And then on the bottom, it's got half of a box and the top half of a meeple. So when you put two together, it forms one cabin that says, okay, you can put one guest in here. So you need to have at least one guest
Yeah, that makes
to,
sense.
to send it into space. So yes, I'll let you finish your thought before I jump in.
Yeah. So when I was thinking about this afterwards, I was thinking, there's so many avenues to this because it's easy to say, oh yeah, you want to send out a ship right away. But there's caveats to that too, because you're also losing one of your worker
Yeah,
for the however long they're in space for that journey, and those journeys can expand multiple days or you know or even more kind of thing, right? 2 to like 4 or 5 whatever stops they might have along this route.
which is
And
like turns
so
basically,
yeah, so
right?
that's turns, right? So if you're down a meeple and you only start with 2 meeples, then maybe that's not very efficient. But if you get that third meeple out early, which we did, um, maybe it is, right? So there's
Yeah,
there's there's definitely that thought that goes into it. But it's interesting just for the passive benefits of having a ship out often enough. Um, I think my downfall of that game was not getting enough ships out.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, yeah, because you get a bunch of stuff for doing it, but also not only that, one of the things that I found that I ran into my biggest hurdle was when you're chartering a flight path, you're sending out your I guess your navigation specialist or your advertising specialist or whatnot. So
your
you're
cruise consultant.
cruise consultant. So you pick basically a route that you're taking, and your cruise consultant goes there, and then you can advertise and bring up to 2 guests onto that spot. Okay,
Yeah,
great. Different actions to do this. That's fine. But then that cruise consultant is stuck there until you actually send off that cruise, right?
yeah.
So there was a few times where I'd be like, okay, here we go. I got this nice little combo going up, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna book this. Oh, no, no, no. My cruise consultant's already sitting there. Darn. I've already committed. I gotta send this first before. Okay, so I've wasted this round. So I gotta. That's fine. I'll send it next round, and then I'll get the consultant back. And then, like I said, something else would come up, and then the same thing would happen, and it'd be like, "Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to send out the cruise. Oh, right, right. Cruise consultant still waiting there. Great, great, great. Yes. So that, but it wasn't a bad thing. It was just it was an interesting thing that you
Yeah,
have to kind of manage, right? And then if that's on an action space and the opposite, you know, not to like take over completely here, um, but that cruise consultant sending to pick out a route is on one action space, and then the other action on that space, if it's something really good, like half of that space is almost garbage at that time, right? So you're trying to like put those gears down, the development things like you were
yeah,
mentioning. So at least if you go there and you have to take the other action, then you have access to some secondary actions or something, so you're not wasting any actions, right? Uh,
yeah,
because your navigator is tied up or whatever it's called.
yeah. That's there's so many neat parts of this game, like math wise, efficiency wise, right? So there's two ways to play. They have there's a whole side of the board printed
Mm,
that's that's
interesting.
meant for your first game, your intro game. And it has all the action spaces and everything printed on the board, which from a production perspective, that's wild. But um, just because it's a big board.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so it'd be very easy to just say for your first game, arrange the action tiles like this and not have to print a whole side of the board. But anyway, um, but then the standard game, the regular game, yeah, you're randomizing where those actions are. So the intro game, it's like it's kind of easy mode. It's kind of like the actions sort of go together. When you take this action, it's easy to take the other action on that space. But there are, a number of spaces, like you said, where you take an action and it's like you can't double up on that action. So you do have to find something else to do. So for example, if you're like gaining resources, right? If you're low on resources, you can double up on that gain resources action. So as long as you got the space and the resources are available, double up on it. Great. Boom, fill yourself up. But if you're like hiring an expert or booking the cruise with your cost consultant or whatever, you can't double up on that. So you have to find your second action. And yeah, if the other action on that tile is not good for you right now, you're kind of either you waste an action that turn, or yeah, you have to plan ahead, put a gear down, or you have to look at maybe you have to look at paying somebody to use their gear, right?
Yeah.
Which again, slightly less efficient, but more efficient than wasting a whole action. So the randomized actions I find like really change up the game, make every game just that little bit different. It's like a bit of a different puzzle to put together. Because the other part of the gears too, which I always forget about, is that when you pull workers back, so you can on your turn instead of putting workers out, you can pull your workers back, and when you do that, you get income, but you also get to take one action as long as you have a gear beside that action. So it's this puzzle of okay, I want the gears out to be between actions so that I can do my action phase efficiently. But then you also want gears in places where when you're doing a recall turn, you can take a good action, right? Um, I find filling resources is good. Maybe grabbing agendas is good, or possibly refilling the agendas. And it's all dependent on the state of the board at the time, right? Because
Yeah.
grabbing agendas is always good, but maybe when you have to call a meeting that's your recall turn, maybe the agenda board is empty,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, that the whole thing, yeah. What else? What I really like too is that you have these two types of workers as well. So you start off with like the basic workers, and then you can hire two sort of advanced workers.
yeah,
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the powers of those workers, the I don't know, the higher tiered workers, that's randomized, is it not?
yeah.
Right, so
So
that's really interesting too.
I think there's like five different special abilities that they have,
Yeah.
and like they get one per
Yes.
game,
Yeah.
and yeah, those five are randomized every game.
That's such a cool way of doing it. I've never seen a game do it that way, right? Because you think of something like viticulture, those your big workers, they allow you to enter a worker placement space that already has a worker, right?
Right, right.
Boom, right. Which I've seen a lot of like different types of workers are that kind of thing, right? Or I've seen games that do the different types of workers for different types of spots, right? So you want
Yeah,
to go to that location, you need this type of worker. You want to go there, you need this other type of worker, whatever, right? So I've seen a lot of this. This sort of like randomized power that you choose at the start of the game, and then for the rest of the game, they have this power. So in our game, essentially the larger workers, these upgraded workers, allowed you to do actions um, on any location that you could chain with your development gears and connect to the spot that you went, right? So if you went in like the top corner spot, but you wanted us to take the action in the, you know, bottom left corner of the board, the exact opposite across, you could, as long as you could trace, gears down there or pay the gears to get there, right? So it wasn't even like limiting to just your gears. It was like as
right.
long as long as there's a path there, you could go and take that action, paying whatever costs. But that like that changed the game drastically, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you want to go in a position, but your worker's there, so you can't take that because you can't bump out your own worker. Sometimes your opponent is in there and you don't want to bump them out because they'll get it back and they'll get some bonus, right? So you place one of these workers across the board and be like, well, now I take the action that my worker's on over here because I have a connection, and I take the action that your worker's on over there because I have that connection, and I don't have to bump you back, right? And then hopefully next turn you have to bump me back because the board's filling up pretty quickly, right, with all these workers.
Right.
And that was like we use that constantly through the
Yeah.
game. Like we were using that power all the time. Um, so that was and to be like that's not in every game. That's such a weird thing to to wrap my brain around, right? Because that it was a neat power, right? But I'm sure some of the other powers are pretty fantastic as well, right? I didn't see what they were, but
Yeah.
in the games that you played, that were they pretty neat powers as well. I mean, you're not going to
Which,
use it every time, but
right.
it just adds
I
something to your
think
toolkit.
the one that like for the standard game or not the standard, sorry, the beginner game,
Mhm.
if I recall correctly, it's when you bump a worker with your expert worker, then then you get a funding bonus.
Nice.
Yeah.
So it's
Or
helping you
maybe it
get
was
resources and whatnot.
or maybe it's if somebody bumps you with their expert worker. No, 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 because you get a funding bonus regardless if you get bumped. So yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not sure what the other ones are. I feel like one might be like lets you bump your own workers if you're using the expert worker. Yeah, like they're all really good, but not like game breaking,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. There
In
was many
fact,
turns where we didn't use it,
yeah,
right? So
that
yeah,
that
yeah,
one when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's not exciting. And then we were playing, and it was like, oh, this is good. Like
yeah,
this is useful.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It
And there
just
were many times where like my expert worker was out on the board because I only had one.
yes, yeah,
And he was out on the board, and I'm like, Thomas, bump him off already. Like, come on, I need this guy. And I felt like you were purposefully avoiding bumping that worker in particular.
100%. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I didn't want that to come back to you because I knew how useful they were, right? And it was
Yeah,
the
yeah,
same thing when mine was on the board. I was like, oh, I just want it back already. Like, and again, you can always take that recall turn and take them back, but it almost feels like a
yeah,
waste because you're only doing, one of the actions instead of two actions, right? And then of course, with that limiting factor of needing that gear there, that could play havoc on, okay, really needed to take this action, but now I can't because I don't have a gear near there. So I can't actually take that, right? Now I didn't have that. I got gears out pretty quickly. So I was pretty spread across the board with those gears, which I found very useful. And that was an interesting mechanic as well, just adding those so you can take,
yeah.
you had a wider spread of work replacement actions that you can take from going in one location, right?
And it's very so the gears you put them between the actions, and that's so useful. We've been talking about that at length, right? But also every one of those technologies is also really good, right? So it's this, and then putting those gears out so expensive.
Oh,
So when
crazy
you
cost. Yeah.
do manage to get the money together to develop something, and then you pick up that key and you're like, okay, now where do I place this? Because there's there's all these action spots you want to put it on, but you also want to put it on all the text, and it's such a tough decision where to
Yeah.
put the next one, right?
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, that was a the text one. Yeah, I found very difficult because like there were so many benefits of putting it on the actual board that it was easy to ignore the text, but the texts were so good with launching your ships, right? Like one made rooms cheaper, one to build the rooms cheaper, I should say.
Yeah.
One saved you on a oxygen cost. One saved you on fuel cost, and the other one I think both of us ignored it, but was like ticketing
Yeah.
costs or advertisement costs that saved you there,
Right.
right? Um, but like that type of stuff, this it's a very you're always tight on resources. So any sort those little even that like okay, yeah, I have to spend one less oxygen. Oh, big deal. But no, that could mean the difference between like sending off a ship a turn earlier because
Yeah.
you get that one discount, right? Uh
100%.
yeah, just like it that type of stuff, those like little tiny things that seemingly don't seem a big deal, like even the one fuel, same thing, right? It's like, okay, but then it's much faster to reset to get to that like, okay, ready to go again, right?
Yeah. Also, like the developments, right? So, again, it's expensive to build those developments. So if you have the, like, say, the one that lets you launch with one less fuel, that means you can take a trip that costs four fuel, let's say, right?
Yep.
Even though you can only fit three fuel. And then you don't have to spend the money and the action to do that last development.
Yeah, and those developments were neat too because yeah, for that exact reason, right? Like they were tied to your how many resources you could hold, right? So the more developments you had up, the
Yeah.
more resources you could store, right? So yeah,
Which is a
absolutely. You
cool
kind of wanted to
mechanic.
get them out to store more resources so that, when you had a big trip, it wasn't like bringing you all down to, okay, I got to spend 6 turns getting back. No, I've stockpiled a few of the resources now, and I'm good to go. And it'll take a little bit to get more resources to send the second ship out or whatever, right?
Yeah.
What caught me off guard and was kind of silly too on my part, and you played this beautifully, but so and I don't know why I was thinking differently. I guess I just envisioned it so we were when you build a ship and then you send it on a cruise. I in my mind I was like, okay, that ship flies off to space and is gone, but it returns, right? So like you still have access to that ship, and it totally caught me off guard where you were like a turn happened. You just came back from the cruise, and I was like, okay, yeah, I can wait till next turn and then ship out a cruise. And like you went, oh, I can quickly send out this next cruise and like cut Thomas off from getting this like bonus objective or whatever, right? And it worked out perfect. And I was like, yeah, of course you can because I looked at your board and I'm like, okay, we're great. His ship's already out. It's coming back next turn, but whatever, that's fine, but not realizing, yeah, but then he's going to have an empty ship next turn, so we can refill it and go, right?
Yep.
Now, mind you, refilling it and go typically would take 2 turns because you got to bring, the guests over or whatever. And no, I don't even think it would.
Well, while
You
it
ended
was
up
in
having a card.
space,
Yeah, yeah,
while it was in space, I was like, I booked the next cruise. I, booked the next guests, and I'd started filling up resources. And then, yeah, I ended up having a card that helped me get resources and then launch a ship on one turn.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so, so what happens is there's uh, three like mini points in the game. Check
Almost like objective kind of thing, but like
what am I
checkpoints is
trying to say?
good. Yeah,
Checkpoints. Yeah.
yeah.
There's 3 points in the game where if you've fulfilled company objectives and sent out ships, you're putting cubes in these spots, and
Like
when
a
when they
scoring phase
fill up,
almost. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
when they fill up, you pause and you have a scoring phase, and then your scoring depends on how many cubes you've put out. So again, how many objectives you've completed and how many ships you've launched. So I had completed one objective and sent a ship, and in a two-player game, there's only three slots for that first scoring phase or whatever. And I saw Thomas had everything ready to send a ship, but he didn't. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
and so my ship came back in and I was like, well, if I send this out right now, I'm the only one who's going to score on this scoring phase. So yeah, I I did what I could to immediately send that ship back out.
This is the perfect example where I was like, no, there's a maybe I'll take one more turn because I can do a little bit more extra, get a few more of these things or whatever when I could have just sent the ship out, right?
Yeah.
And I was thinking, but I look at you and I was like, yeah, okay, it's fine. You can't send a ship out right away. He doesn't have another one built. I'm like, no, of course not, 'cause he's gonna reuse the ships. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
but that's fascinating too because then but there's pros and cons to that too because like so when you build a ship you have this the cockpit comes with basically a scoring condition that's going to when you send that ship out the first time it'll flip over and it's going to score you points right away. um, so it encourages you to build and send out different ships so that you're flipping those bonus points and scoring those bonus points, right? And I did well on those bonus points, right?
Yeah.
So that there was an incentive to okay, don't keep sending out the same ship, send out another ship so you can get the bonus points by flipping that tile, right? And then if you ever build a ship and then you don't send it out, it's worth negative points. So that's more encouragement to like, okay, get this ship going. I can't just leave it in my star field, taking up space kind of thing, right? So that was very cool too. I liked that. But yeah, I think the key in this game is to really get that engine of sending ships in, bringing in the right resources, and building that reoccurring engine that you can kind of milk,
Yeah.
right? So
But the other part of it too, right, is that so these segments you're building and the guests and your destinations, so they all revolve around three colors. So
mhm.
you're trying to match the icons on the colors of the icons on your ship to your guests, and then also to the destinations. And if
Destinations,
you
yeah.
can you can specialize and maximize those, and that way you're maximizing your bonuses and your points. But then what happens is you build a whole ship for blue guests, and then every cruise that tile that flips up has no blue guests, and then you're like, well, so yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
then you do what you did and build three different ships that specialized one in each color. But
And then always sent the
yeah,
wrong guess and went, oh no.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, this
Anyway,
was
yeah.
I was gonna say
Go
this
ahead.
one was a fun one. I enjoyed it. I had a good time. I'd love to play this one again. And I think the second time around, once you see it, how it all works,
Yeah.
yeah, I got much more ideas to how we would do better this time for sure.
I thought you'd like this one. And yeah, I've been waiting to bring it out for you to play. So I'm glad we got to play it together. And
Mhm.
yeah, we'll play this one again for sure. I mean, we say that every
With every
time,
game.
but but yeah, it is a fun one, and it's obvious why it got so much buzz last year when it came out. But interestingly, it kind of dropped off, but I guess that's just because so many good games coming out.
It's true, yeah, and it's
Yeah,
and I would it's probably on the more expensive side
yeah,
of
true.
it's a higher, but it is a higher production as well. So it's you know sometimes that justifies the added expense, right? And you got a good game here, so with lots of playing potential. So I wouldn't let a price point scare you from that kind of thing.
Yeah, if it sounds interesting, yeah, give it a try. And it is on Board Game Arena, so you can
Nice.
try it there too. And that wraps up another episode of the Current Plays podcast. Check us out next week on YouTube or your favorite podcast provider. But until then, good gaming and good night.
Good night, folks.